All right, welcome back to the RetroCult Podcast. I am your host, Chuck. He is your host, Mack. Mack, what's been going on in your world, man?
Oh, nothing much. Just a lot of work. Trying to stay cool. We got a little summer has finally arrived in North Carolina, and so just trying to stay cool.
Yeah, it's definitely been pretty toasty. I know at this other job that I had to unload a truck the other morning, and there is no air conditioning in the back of one of those giant
Oh
trucks
no,
packed
yeah,
full of boxes, and it was pretty toasty.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all good. No stress on that at all. But I know that we had talked a little bit before we started the podcast. I know that you didn't get to do a whole lot of toy hunting this past week, but you did find something that you've been looking for. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was able to go out at lunchtime on Thursday to a Target, and I found the first wave of the Mattel DC action figures. We posted a short about it on YouTube and Instagram, and yeah, it was exciting. I loved seeing the figures. Am I'm going to be shooting a couple of shorts for each figure as I'm going to actually take them off the package, give my feelings on the quality of the figures. I will say my initial feelings are really great. The figures were affordable. They're $12.99. It's a actually 6-inch figure. I thought they were only going to be like 5 inches, kind of like the Masters of the Universe, but they're actually bigger than the Masters of the Universe figures, which are also a couple of bucks cheaper. I think we talked about that last week. That those are like $9.99. I think $10.99 for some
Yeah,
of
right in
them.
that area, like ten
Yeah,
bucks.
and these are $12.99, but they're like they're not the same scale as the McFarlanes. The McFarlanes are definitely bigger, but they're a nice size scale. I feel like this is definitely what the companies need to do to keep those younger kids interested in this kind of stuff. Because as a parent, I when I was talking to my son, who he's 32, but when I was talking to him about the figures, I had even mentioned that if he were a little kid right now and he wanted these figures, I would not feel bad about buying them for him because they're
Absolutely.
affordable. Like I wouldn't feel bad that if he ripped them off, played with them, that's what they're meant to be. That's what they're meant to be. But I will say that being said, the quality of the figures, at least looking at them in the package is outstanding. The details they did go with, there are a couple of little things I wish they had done differently. Like the Robin, he's definitely wearing the 90s Robin, that updated Robin costume, the Tim Drake era. Um, that looks great. The Joker, classic purple suit Joker. The Flash is just a classic costume Flash. Batman, he's the classic blue and gray, which I love. But instead of having the yellow circle bat on his chest, he has the modern bat with the yellow outline around it. And I'm like, okay, why not just give? And what's funny about that is, and I'll be going over this in the short when I make it, the art on the card shows the classic Batman with the yellow circle bat, but then the figure inside does not have that.
I
And
know
I'm
we've
like,
noticed that a lot.
why are they doing that? You get so close to making it perfect and you
Yeah.
still just miss it. A couple of other weird things about it, like on the back of the card, and I would say every toy company kind of misses the boat on this one. Um, and I would certainly say Mattel is better at it because on the back of the card, it at least has a blurb that isn't translated into 10 different languages so that you only get one sentence in your language. Um, but the blurb is generic, it's the same thing on every card. And for some reason, on the back of the card, I pointed it out in my short, the back of every card says supervillains
Yeah, I
on
didn't
it. And I'm
understand
like,
that at all.
wait a minute. Only one of these characters is a supervillain. The rest are superheroes.
Yeah.
And the blurb is just a generic blurb that, oh, DC supervillains are always, they're always scheming. So the DC superheroes have to stay on their toes. And I'm like, what is the point of that? Like, what happened to where on the back of the card would tell you some information about the character?
Yeah, I need character cards to make a comeback
Yeah,
with
yeah.
power ratings and intelligent ratings.
Oh, yeah,
I
like
need
the old
all of that.
GI Joe, the mission, personnel profile on the
I
GI
loved
Joes.
those. I love the Transformers,
Yep.
because you had to have the little red,
The
strip that
Transformers were the best because they had the power ratings and
yeah,
everything, so
those
you
were fantastic. I mean, any of those that had the ratings of characters on the back, I think were always a lot of fun, and they gave you some insight as to who the character was. And yeah, I mean, of course, we all know who Batman is, and we all know who the Joker is, but it's fun to read the backs of those and collect those file cards,
Yep, yep.
to keep that as opposed to just what's probably going to happen with most of those for the non-collectors is just you've the plastic's gone, the back is gone. You're not really keeping any of that. Where
Yeah,
I kept a lot of
yeah,
those.
I would say there's definitely no collectability in the actual card, which that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm not even saying it has to be a collectible card or anything like that. I will say one of my favorites is the old Secret Wars figures, in that they literally had a small comic book, almost like a newspaper strip cartoon, featuring the character that you were buying. And I'm like, that was amazing. That was great. And those are kind of collectible now. I think people actually
Oh yeah,
sell those, the little comic strip. But it also gave you a blurb about the character. Yes, I agree. We all know who Batman is, but it's still great. The
yep,
Robin is an interesting one. And I guess it doesn't matter. It's whichever Robin the kid wants it to be. But it would be kind of interesting if they were like, is this the Tim Drake Robin? Because he looks like the Tim Drake Robin from the 90s. And so I'm like, that would be kind of cool. Is the Flash, is it Barry Allen or is it Wally West? Because there was that time after Barry Allen's death where Wally West became the new Flash. He literally just wore the same costume. So, but I mean, I guess if for play wise, it's whatever the kid wants it
of
to
course,
be. But speaking as the guy who loves to collect anything, I kind of wanted to say this is Tim Drake Robin, and give me a
yeah.
little couple of paragraphs about the backstory. You know what they really, you know what would be awesome is if they basically. I know DC and Marvel don't really do the who's who and the handbook of the Marvel universe anymore, but it would be great is if on the back of the figure you had an entry from like who's who in the DC universe for
That
that
would be awesome.
character. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I also miss.
Mattel, I know you're listening to this
Of
podcast.
course they are.
Do that, do that.
I
But
also
no,
miss the days of on the backs of cards where it was like a mini catalog where you could see the
oh
whole line
yes.
of action figures where you could then spend your time pining after the other figures that you didn't just buy.
Yeah,
And kind of circling, oh, when I go back, I know that I got the black suited Spider-Man tonight, but I'm
yeah,
getting Doc Ock the next time I go in because he's the coolest.
exactly.
So that was a lot of fun too. But I mean, I don't. They should hire us. I think we would do a good job with helping design some of these things, and I would have like Tom Hanks and big level amounts of fun if they put me into a toy place working.
Oh no, I agree. I would love that too. I would love that too. I will say, I guess finishing up on this, initial takeaway on the DC Mattel is they're awesome. They're great. They're worth the money. I'll let you know more as I open them, and we'll talk more about the build quality. But the figures themselves look great. The packaging is amazing. Like, it's not like your standard Marvel Legends or McFarlane where they're literally just in the package, just standing there. Each figure is semi-posed in the package, which is very cool. Like, they have their fists up, the Flash is running.
Yeah, the Flash
Yeah,
is right. I didn't really pay attention to that,
yeah,
but
the
now you
Flash
say
is
it,
running.
that
Robin,
is
I think,
cool.
has Robin and Batman both have their fists up. The Joker is in a. So even just like, even if you were collecting these to keep them on the package, they're worth looking at. The art is colorful. I like the blister card in that there's not a huge wasted amount of space like a huge card. The card is about the same width as the blister. Now that means that the artwork that's behind it is going to get destroyed as soon as you rip that blister off. But it is what it is. I mean, these are meant to be played with. Let's take them off, and that's what I'm going to do. But if you did want to collect them just to hang them up on a peg and look at them, they're beautiful to look at.
But I mean, for the price that you're saying, you could get 2 Batman for the
Yeah, you
cost of
you
1
yeah. If you
McFarlane
wanted
Batman.
to, there literally, I could buy two of each figure and spend the same amount of money I'd buy to buy four McFarlanes.
Yes, exactly. So if you get into it and you realize, I really do like these, it's not going to be a bad thing to go back and grab 4 more.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, if
kind of
you
neat
think
to know.
about it, these things are only like $2 or $3 more than the McFarlane Superpowers figures, and
Yeah,
they're significantly more articulated. They're bigger. They come with tons of accessories. That's a nice thing. Like the Joker has a swappable face and two swappable heads
that's crazy
for
uh
a twelve
for
ninety
a
nine action figure.
12.99 action figure. That's pretty wild. I'm looking forward to seeing those in person. I haven't seen them in person yet, and I haven't been into any of the box stores in a while. It's been a little bit since I've been in, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing those.
I will say I think that these are actually turning out to be fairly successful, at least anecdotally, um, because I know at the Target I went to, they literally only had one set, and I got lucky. They had one of each figure, so um, I don't know if that's I doubt they only put one set of the figures out. So I'm assuming that however other many more there were got sold, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get all four. So I'm excited. I do think that the next step is I do think there are some Mattel two packs that I've heard, and they're also doing a line of 12-inch figures. Now those are I don't think those are going to be very detailed. I think the first ones are Batman, Superman, and the Flash, and the Batman is different from this Batman in that he's got a completely black costume, although he has the same bat logo on his chest. Um, and those, I think those are going to be your standard that figures that you see, like the larger figures. A lot of collectors refer to those as the shampoo bottles because that's kind of what they look like, are the old shampoo bottles from when we were kids. Um, I don't know whether I'll buy those or not. I'll be honest. Even as a kid, I had some of the 12-inch Kenner Star Wars figures. There are several I had I wish I had held on to, like Boba Fett. I actually did have a Boba Fett and a Darth Vader. Um, but I will say, even as a kid, I was much more into the smaller size figures than the big size figures.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was all about portability with the action
Yeah.
figures, and
The
you
coolest
know,
thing I did with the 12-inch Kenner Star Wars figures was I do know that Boba Fett fought Steve Austin quite often,
okay, I can see that happening.
and that would have been an amazing mashup.
That would have been fun to watch. Well, I know, you had recommended us talking about something on here that we've briefly mentioned before when we were talking about our favorite breakfast cereals, and
And
that
cereal
kind of
toys, yeah.
and toys that leads into. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I think about eating cereal, leads into Saturday mornings, and then obviously
Mhm.
cartoons. And I know we mentioned some cartoons back then, but you wanted to talk about cartoons.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I figured it'd be a good time. Well, the thing that really triggered this idea was you recently found a copy of The New Adventures of Superman on
yep,
DVD. The cartoon from the mid to late 60s, I think, is when
I
that
believe so.
originally came out. Um, and you had texted me asking, "Hey, is this any good?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you'll love it. They're awesome." Um, and that led me to think, we should do a deeper dive on our favorite cartoons because it's not just Saturday morning cartoons, But like one of the, a big part of cartoon watching for me as a kid was after school cartoons.
After
Like
school cartoons are
there were
huge.
there were cartoon series that came on after school that, like, literally I had to be home by this time to watch this thing.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite cartoons are Saturday morning, but really some of the most impactful cartoons on my life as as a pop culture, or in pop culture, were after school cartoons, even more so than Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Because
So throw one out there, man, because I purposely did not write down He-Man, Thundercats,
right,
Mass,
right, yeah, we
Transformers.
let's get those out
I
of the way to begin with.
I
Yes,
threw
I
those out the
loved
door.
GI Joe.
Absolutely.
Uh, I loved Voltron. I
Yep.
loved Thundercats.
Although I
You
think
know,
I would have allowed Voltron, I probably would have kept in.
I will keep
But
that. Yeah, I will keep him in Voltron because,
yeah,
yeah, there the question is which Voltron is your favorite. Now, for me, it's always the Five Lions. It's got to be the Five Lions. That's my Voltron. Do you remember the other Voltron? There was another Voltron cartoon. And the funny background on all of these, you should go check out Secret Galaxy because they do a deep dive on Voltron and the development of that cartoon, because these were kind of like the Power Rangers before the Power Rangers, in that these
yeah,
were Japanese cartoons that literally had nothing to do with the Voltron story that we are aware of, and they literally just re-edited them together and had new English dialogue dubbed over them to create totally new stories. I think that is awesome. That is awesome. Like, I forget what, but there were two Voltrons. There's the one Voltron is formed by five robotic lions, you know, and then there's the other Voltron that where they're out in outer space, like on the Enterprise. They're like explorers, but Voltron there gets formed by, like, I think it was like 100 vehicles came together to form Voltron.
yeah. No, I no. It's Five Lions. That's it. I don't
Yeah,
know what that
it's the
other one
five
is, but
line.
they should change their name.
Yeah, well, that was the weird thing, though. Again, talking about, watching these things after school. I we'll go with Voltron. Voltron. I remember seeing the Five Lions episodes and just, oh, these are great. This is awesome. And then you'd come in one afternoon. Here comes Voltron. It plays the same theme song, everything, and all of a sudden you're like, who are these characters? Like, none of the characters are the same. they're they're not any, it doesn't have that medieval fantasy setting, even though it's a sci-fi setting, but they were on a planet, right? And they lived, didn't they even live in a castle or something? Like, that's like their headquarters for the people who have the, it's like there's a kingdom involved. I may be misremembering some of this, but then all of a sudden they're on a spaceship in outer space exploring the galaxy. And when they go to when they encounter an enemy, at some point, of course, they all have to form together as Voltron, and, like, literally all these small spaceships and everything all come together to form it. It's like 100 of them. And of course, even then I'm thinking, well, what if one of those gets destroyed before they can form Voltron?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're just, that part of Voltron just doesn't work.
Or Jeff oversleeps.
Or yeah, or
I
or
mean,
anything like that.
that's
I mean,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, even then I'm like, okay, five lions. I get it, but there's only five, so we can manage that. But when you got like 100 things that have to come together to form this thing, even then I'm like, okay, that's way overcomplicated. That is way overcomplicated. So anyway, but so there were the two different versions of Ultron. I preferred the Five Lions. But I will say my biggest, the when I think of after school cartoons, the one that comes to my mind, well, I just lied because even as I was saying that sentence, another one jumped in. Okay, I'm gonna go with two. My two favorites. Number one is Star Blazers. I loved Star Blazers, and especially that first season of Star Blazers where they're telling the story, Journey to Iskandar or Quest for Iskandar, I think is the name of it, where literally it's not in real time, but as a kid it seemed like it was because they're like, oh, this is they have 1 year to get to Iskandar and back to save the Earth, to pick up this technology that's going to save the Earth from the radiation that the Gamelons have bombarded it with. And so basically, the whole first series, you're on a clock. Like you've only got this long to get back, and it really raised the stakes. And as a kid, that was the one where I remember my dad would pick me up from school, and he'd be like, "Hey," and normally a lot of times my dad would be like, "Do you want to go to the mini mart? We'll get a soda and a candy bar, or something like that." This was one of the few times where like, oh no, no, we need to get home. We need to get home because like important episode is showing today. Yesterday the Yamato, we ended on a cliffhanger with the Yamato. Is it destroyed or not? And of course, as a kid, I'm like, I don't yet know. Oh, of course they're not destroyed. They're still
Yeah.
going. But yeah, I remember that one. And then the other one that immediately sprang to my mind that I watched all the time was Inspector Gadget. That was an afternoon. That was an after school cartoon that I loved that. I'm pretty sure I've seen every one.
Yeah, I loved Inspector Gadget. I had not the crappy Burger King toy. I had the Inspector Gadget action figure growing up,
The
and
one based on the cartoon.
on the cartoon, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He was really awesome.
Well,
It
and
kind
the
of
other
different.
thing that got did it for me was he was voiced by Don Adams, who was Maxwell Smart
I
in
was
Get
like, I don't
Smart.
even know his name. I was gonna say his name's Maxwell Smart.
Maxwell Smart, and I loved Get Smart. I
Yeah,
mean, I watched reruns of Get Smart through my entire childhood. I loved that show.
yeah. We should probably do a Nick at Night
Oh, I'm all
podcast
for that because yeah,
because there were some fantastic shows that came on
I
there.
can talk Beverly Hillbillies all day long
My
and Get
Favorite
Smart.
Martian,
Yeah,
Get Smart, all of those
yeah.
that were on there. Yeah, they were fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean those sound like some pretty awesome ones. Your Star Blazers were it just brought back the memory of Battle of the Planets. I didn't write
Oh
that.
yes.
I didn't jot that down. I probably should have, but just it was just like, oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. I haven't
No,
watched
Battle
or
of the
thought about that in a
Planets
while.
is great. Actually, I don't have them down here in the den, but I actually have the set of pops from that. Although they're not marketed as Battle of the Planets, because that's another one like Voltron and Star Blazers to a degree. Although Star Blazers did at least keep the story from the Japanese version. It's just they toned down the violence and stuff because the original Japanese space battleship Yamato cartoon is much darker than Star Blazers. Um, but again, Battle of the Planets was kind of another Japanese show called Gotcha Man that they just redubbed in America to create new stories. And of course, that came out. The reason they call it Battle of the Planets is they were riding off that Star Wars high in the late
Yeah,
70s. And, but yeah, I loved Battle of the Planets. That was another one. That was one. The weird one about that is I wouldn't say I was into that one as much because it never seemed to be on at like a regular time. Like I don't remember like Star Blazers, Inspector Gadget, when it came out later, Real Ghostbusters, all of
yep.
that. They actually had a time slot that you could count on every afternoon. Battle of the Planets was one of those where I remember watching that right after school, and then I remember catching it on like at 7 o'clock at night or something like that.
Yeah,
And I did like it never seemed to be in the same time slot. So I just it was harder to latch on to that one
I
because I
got you.
didn't
No,
never knew if I was going to see another one.
I understand. Yeah. So I had a number one, but I'm gonna skip past that. I'll come back to it.
We got to get back to it. Yeah, you got to come back to it.
But and I don't even know if that's like my number one. It's just the first one that I wrote down, but I'm gonna go one that is, and I think that you will probably have a little bit more detail about some of these. And if I mispronounce the last name, I apologize. But I know the production design was Jack Kirby, and it was designed by is it Alex Toth or Toth?
Alex Toth.
Alex Toth, and it's Thundar.
Thundarr. Oh yeah. Well,
Thundar the
yeah,
Barbarian was phenomenal. I
yeah.
mean, I couldn't get enough of that. And that was weird. That was one of those like late Saturday afternoon almost cartoons.
Yeah, well, because those were the Hanna Barbera cartoons that were all from the '60s. I mean, that's the thing. These shows we were rediscovering them like in the late '70s through
Yes.
the '80s and into the '90s, like Space Ghost. I love Space Ghost. Uh,
I have Space Ghost written down on here
yeah,
somewhere.
I mean, we could do an entire separate episode just on the Hanna Barbera verse, like
Yeah,
with
Hanna-Barbera for certain. Yeah, C
Johnny
Lab
Quest, Space
2020,
Ghost, Birdman, Thundarr the
Fantastic Four,
Barbarian, the Herculoids, the Fantastic
Scooby-Doo.
Four, of course, Scooby Doo,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and
So
Flint.
Was Thundar Hanna-Barbera or was that Ruby Spears?
I'm pretty sure it was Hanna Barbera, and the reason
Okay.
I say that is because Dynamite Comics is currently publishing comics building a Hanna Barbera verse.
Okay.
They started with Space Ghost. They've expanded out to there's a ongoing Johnny Quest. There's a Herculoids, Dynamut, and the Blue Falcon. That's another one that I love.
Fantastic. Yep.
Um, and they just recently started. I have the first 3 issues of Thundarr the Barbarian
Okay.
comic, and so I'm 99% sure that's Hanna Barbera. I'd have to check it just to confirm it. Now, of course, they can't do a comic based in the Fantastic Four Hanna Barbera verse because that's owned by
Yes.
Marvel, so
Yeah.
can't do that. But that would be amazing. I'd love to see the Fantastic Four meet Space Ghost.
It would yeah, that would be phenomenal. But no, I mean, like I said, I sent you that picture of that space sword earlier in the week.
Mm.
And I mean,
God, that brought back memories,
oh, I'm
man.
telling you, if I was, I mean, but you could use that for Herculoids or Thundar. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean
Mm-hmm.
that sword took me through so much playing. I would love to find that. I think that's probably a good price for one on the card, but it's not something that's in my top of my collecting list at the moment. But
Uh,
I better not see that at a flea market. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Hey, and you were right. It's a Ruby Spears
Is it Ruby
cartoon.
Spears?
It's
Okay.
Ruby Spears, but I guess that one has somehow in the modern age with consolidations, companies buying companies, it actually belongs to Hanna-Barbera now.
So I
Or
know
it belongs to whoever owns the Hanna-Barbera properties. I'm not even sure Hanna-Barbera exists anymore.
that's
Yeah,
a
I don't
sad
it doesn't.
sentence.
It doesn't. So
Oh,
who
that's terrible.
someone owns all of those properties because Ruby Spears doesn't exist anymore, Hanna Barbera doesn't exist anymore. But but some corporation out there still owns the rights to these.
So if we see Mr. T, Plastic Man, I know that like I mean, and I'll probably mention these if we even get to it, like the Visionaries or the Supernatural, not the TV show, but the cartoon that was based on the toy line. Like all of those are like Ruby Spears, and I mean, if that and Hanna Barbera are like, I guess not around or owned by somebody else right now, like I mean, I bought those DVDs because of this huge push that I'm kind of like in the back of my head of getting all these things physical now because you just don't know when it's not going to be around. And I don't want to. That's a sad thing to think about, man. And my I may end up buying a bunch of cartoons before I buy anything else because Dukes of Hazard, A Team, sure, important shows, but like the most important shows to me growing up, when I think about it, are probably all cartoons.
Yeah, I
They
just did a quick Google search and found out that Hanna Barbera and the and Ruby Sears properties that were created prior to 1991 are all owned by Warner Brothers.
And somebody was just trying to buy them not too long ago,
Well,
right?
and they did. They that deal is going through right now. Paramount
Wow.
Skydance is, yeah. Yeah. I hate this whole all of these companies merging. I'm like, no, we should go back. I want there to be 100 different companies doing this stuff.
Yeah, because
But
the cartoons were better.
and they were better. And I just want to say, okay, well, here's the thing: you do own that. So Warner Brothers owns all of these properties from Ruby Spears and
Wow.
Hanna Barbera. Okay, here's the thing: then why is Dynamite publishing? Because they also own DC Comics. So why is
Jeez.
Dynamite publishing these comics? Why isn't DC publishing these comics? And okay, then why aren't you could literally make these characters part of the DC universe? Why aren't you?
It would be a lot of fun. I think
It
those
would
would
be
make some great reads.
because I could immediately think, well, like you said, Thundarr the Barbarian was created or co-created by Jack Kirby and Alex Toth, two of the greatest comic creators ever. Alex Toth is one of the great comic artists that has ever lived. Um, I've got a book written by John Hitchcock at Parts Unknown because he was very close, good friends with Alex Toth, and he published a book of their letters back and forth. And it is so good. It is so fun. Alex Toth was such an interesting person. Um, but anyway, I'll get you a copy of that book. I doubt you got to read that. But anyway, you've got two of the greatest comic creators that created these properties, and then Jack Kirby created the entire fourth world for DC Comics in the 70s, which is Darkseid, the New Gods. Um, so yeah, and he created like this character known as Commandy, the last boy on Earth. And that book took place in like a far future where the Earth is destroyed. It's kind of like a Planet of the Apes kind of thing because except it's not just apes, but humans are nearly extinct. He's the last boy on Earth, and he's being hunted, and he allies with sentient animals. Like so,
Okay.
there are, and they have created their own societies. I'm like, there's more than just a little, kind of similar vibe between Commandy and Thundarr. I'm like, okay, you own these properties. It would be amazing to have a Commandy Thundarr the Barbarian crossover. Okay, we might be the only people that actually are aware of these characters anymore. But I'm like,
I
you own all these properties, and then as far as I know, you're literally doing nothing or close to nothing with them.
It's just it's sad to think that you know, and it's an amazing cartoon that something like Thundar could eventually just disappear
Mm-hmm.
and people
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even think about it anymore. That would just be almost criminal for that to happen because it's such an underrated cartoon. And that was my whole thing. Like I said, we talked about, the ones that everybody knows and mentions. Of course, those are awesome. But I mean, I would put this up against some of those. And honestly, if there's 3 or 4 channels with cartoons playing, I'm probably going to leave Thundar off on more often than not, just because the stories were so unique and so well put together, and maybe it fit my vibe a little bit more. I liked those types of cartoons, so I don't know, man, but that was one that I had written down
No,
as a
that's a
must
great
watch.
one. That's a great one. I'll have to get you a copy or two of the Thundar comic book and see what you think.
I th- I feel like I read number one. I don't know if I bought it or if I just read it when I saw it, or read parts of it when I came across it. But it looked good. I just
Oh no,
didn't.
yeah, they I will give Dynamite a lot of credit. And that's the thing. When I say why isn't DC publishing these things, that is in no way a slight to Dynamite. I'm glad Dynamite is publishing these books because they're really they you can tell they're like a labor of love for them. They're really putting quality into the stories and the art. The Thundarr the Barbarian, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Michael Cho, or is it Frank Cho? I know the artist's last name is Cho. He has a really he has a style very akin to that 1960s, very clean style, clean lines, colorful. And I believe he's the artist doing Thundarr, and it looks like the cartoon. It really does. Makes me feel like I'm watching the cartoon. Uh, Same thing they're doing with the Johnny Quest comic. The art is a very similar style because Johnny Quest was also designed by Alex Toth. Space Ghost was designed by Alex Toth. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the cartoons that we loved as kids, if you go scratch just a little bit, you're going to find out that Alex Toth designed those characters.
I like those. Is it Comico? The ones that I've been finding for you, the Johnny
Comico,
Quest.
yes, those
I
are.
think those are just
Yeah,
phenomenal, man.
I will honestly say the Dynamite ones are a worthy successor to those Comico books
That's
because
good.
Comico did a great job back in the early 80s publishing those licensed books. Comico did a we should do an episode about Comico comics. I've got quite a collection of them because they not only did the Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, I don't think they ever did Thundarr or anything like that. I think Johnny Quest and Space Ghost were the main ones they did, but they also did a Star Blazer comic. They did a Robotech comic.
I have found some of the
Robotech
Robotechs.
it was another interesting one, but it was kind of like Battle of the Planets. I could never catch it on a consistent time slot. It was just on when it was on, and so I never really, after a certain point, you haven't seen an episode in weeks, you kind of forget about it.
Yeah, it needs to be pretty consistent before you can really get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's next on your list of the things that you wrote down?
I would say one other thing before we jump off of it,
Sure.
the big one that a lot of people may not know, but the designs for the Super Friends cartoons of the characters. Now they're based on the comic books, but the design of the character and the style of animation for Super Friends was also Alex Toth.
Good gracious, man.
Yeah, he did. You can actually you can find them out there. You can find Alex Toth sketch like it's how do I describe it? It's kind of a style guide sheet that where he drew each character: Superman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the villains. You can find those still out there. They sell for pretty high prices because they're like original art, but they're essentially pencil sketches of all the major DC characters by Alex Toth.
That's awesome.
That'd be an amazing find. That'd be
That would be
and
an
those
amazing
should
find.
be like, I don't know who would do this, but somebody needs to put those in a book and sell those.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely be in line to buy it. But okay, so I got a weird one here. This is one of those. I'm going to throw this in the. This was not a Saturday morning or an after school cartoon. This was a early morning preschool cartoon. Because when I would get up in the morning, when my mom would drive me out of bed in the morning to get ready for school, there were usually some things on that I would be watching as I ate breakfast or whatever, and as long as I wasn't running late or while I'm, and but a couple of them were. I'll throw one out there. This is a cartoon, but it's an educational cartoon called The Great Space Coaster. Do you remember The Great
Yeah.
Space Coaster? I loved that show. I wouldn't fit that into a cartoon per se, in that it didn't really have a story, or it was more like educational episodes. Like the episodes it's more like a Sesame Street kind of thing,
Very
except it
similar.
was animated, but and I enjoyed it. But the other one I remember watching all the time, and this is a cartoon that only ran from 1963 to 66. So you got 3 seasons of it. Um, but it was another one of those where each cartoon's only like 5 minutes long. So they would usually be in some kind of block of cartoons that they would show early in the morning. And you would maybe get 3 or 4 of these in like an hour-long block of cartoons, and that was The Mighty Hercules. And the thing I loved about it was Hercules, so, he's the prototype Superman, so you could say. And I love, I just thought that was great. He was a, heroic strong man. But this one, he did have a different take on this in that he actually got his powers from a magic ring. And so there was always a point in the cartoon where he's just a normal guy, the ring, he wouldn't have the ring on for whatever reason. Like, if you had a ring that made you Hercules, why would you ever take it off? But um so at some point he's got to put the ring on, and it was just the same animation cell that they would show in every episode, where he would put the ring on, and he would lift his hand up, and he wore a big belt with an H on it. Very superheroic. He was very much, they were turning Hercules into your standard superhero. But I love that cartoon. I'm sure it was weird and bizarre. I haven't seen it for, I would have been watching this as a kid in the late 70s. Um, I don't even know. I don't remember. Yeah, this was definitely like a late 70s. Like, I was probably fourth, fifth grade kind of thing. It's probably weird. They are on YouTube. I need to go and actually watch them, but I bet they're just so weird and bizarre.
I think I'm gonna try
But
to
I
watch them when we
loved
get
them.
off. But
They live better in my mind than they probably do in reality.
yeah, some of those things, I definitely understand. And it's almost like I don't want to go back and watch some of them because I just want to keep that childhood memory of it in the back of my head. So it's like I
Mhm.
don't bother to go back and watch some of those because they're just sometimes it's just not good. But
No,
yeah, no,
yeah.
that Hercules is that's a good one, man. I when you said the part about them recycling animations, I flipped through my cards because I had actually written that note here on this one. Um, Later on in like closer to 1970 when they were making this, they recycled a lot of the animation, so you'll see a lot of the same transition scenes and stuff over and over later on. But it's the 67 to 70 Spider-Man.
Oh god,
Uh,
I loved that. Yeah,
oh yeah,
that's on my list. I can't believe I haven't mentioned it before
yeah.
now, but yeah, that's a must. Yeah, that cartoon. The thing I love about that cartoon is that there are, yes, a lot of the recycled animation is literally lifted directly from panels of Steve Ditko's art from early Amazing Spider-Man comic books.
I did, yeah, I did know especially the first season was heavily influenced by the comics.
Yeah, because I think even some of the stories were kind of
Oh,
lifted direct.
100%
Yeah, yeah,
lifted, yeah. And it's I mean, I know they started hitting some money woes and they changed out some producers, and I didn't dig too deep into that. And that's, later on they got a little crazy and a little wonky with some of their stories on there, but it's still from the theme song to the way that they portrayed him, it's definitely one of my favorites.
it's definitely, I would say, it's definitely in the top 5 greatest animated series theme songs ever.
I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah, I'd say
Absolutely.
it's definitely top 5. I mean, I won't say, I'd have to do a little listening because Johnny Quest has an amazing thing, even though there are no words, that's all
Yeah.
instrumental. But Johnny Quest has one of the most recognizable opening theme songs and opening animations ever.
Yeah, the opening animation of that is pretty
But
awesome.
I would definitely say Spider-Man probably. We may have to do another one later on where we narrow in on our top 5 greatest
Cartoon theme song?
animated series
Oh my
theme
gosh.
songs.
Oh my
We
god,
should do that, and we should
that's
try
gonna
to
be
get the
tough.
viewers in
Yeah, that's a tough one.
to suggest it because Spider-Man might be number one because for one thing in its favor is we probably all know it.
Yeah,
You probably are hearing it in your head right now,
I
and I
mean,
love
I
that
am.
they've actually used it in the movies, the
Multiple.
tune
Oh
multiple
yeah.
times. Yeah. So yeah, I would. That cartoon was great. I especially remember one recycled transition is you would see Spider-Man swinging on his web where he's coming directly at the camera.
That's crazy. I was
That
just thinking about that.
Yeah, and that one is lifted directly from a panel of Steve Ditko art. I remember just that's where he's holding the web like
Yep.
this, and it's like right in the middle of his face, and he's just swinging directly at the camera.
Yeah. I it's definitely one of those. I mean, it just had such a huge impact on me.
Me
And
too.
I
Me
mean,
too. Oh, it definitely made me love that character. Because I have no doubt I saw that cartoon before I ever read a Spider-Man comic book. Oh,
man,
that and well, I got to say, the Electric Company Spider-Man
well,
shorts.
now that was yeah, and
Those, yeah.
I and it wasn't long after that that I met Spider-Man at the mall.
Mm.
And
Laura
I
still has the picture.
oh, I
Uh,
have the picture. Yeah.
yeah, where she met Spider-Man at the mall. I did not
Yeah,
meet Spider-Man because I think that was a Haynes Mall,
it
and
was.
it must have been at a time when I lived in Burlington, and Haynes Mall, that was like an hour away. So I missed the Spider-Man visit, which I'm sure I would have loved to have been there.
It was pretty cool. And I know that they do things similar to that now when you go to the theme parks. I
Hmm.
hate that they don't have things like that. I mean, but malls are dead.
I still have my autographed picture of Darth Vader where I met him at
I think
At Haynes Mall. At Haynes Mall.
I got to meet him there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still hanging. That's hanging in the hallway on the landing at the top of the stairs right now.
I need to get that one. I have that. I don't think I have it
Yeah,
framed
I
though. I
got
need to
it
get that framed.
framed. I got it framed.
Yeah.
It's just an autographed still from the movie, so it's not as nice as that one. The disappointing, they weren't doing photos with where you could
No.
take a photo with him.
No.
That was what was cool with the Spider-Man meetups, is that it was always a picture of you with the guy in the Spider-Man costume.
Yep. Yep. So I mean,
I, yeah, that's a great one. I was gonna say that one also ties in a little bit to the Marvel to the Marvel cartoons from that
I love
same
all of
period.
those.
They're amazing. And okay, and now that I've said Spider-Man is in the top 5 theme songs, um, maybe Captain America might be in there too, because it is ridiculous and silly, but I love it because
Yeah.
the lyrics to that song. I'm just gonna quote them here. I'm not gonna sing them. I'm not gonna force that on anybody, but um, it just says, "When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who oppose his shield must yield." I'm like, when you run shield with shield, I love it. I love it automatically.
Yeah. So those are the same cartoons that are on the
Mm,
Talking Viewmaster.
yes, they are. Yes, they
And
are.
they're so good. I know I have them
Those
maybe
are
all of them on VHS, but I don't think I have them on DVD though.
I don't even know if we should include them here because those are animated only in the loosest sense of the word. Because at least the Spider-Man, those are animated. Those are an
Yeah.
animated cartoon, and they took images from the comics and animated them.
Yes.
Here, they literally just took images from the comics and
And
added
shake the
noise,
picture.
and they would shake the camera a little bit for motion, and then they would throw the sound effect on the
Yeah.
screen.
Maybe the
But there's
mouth
really
move.
not a lot of animation in these
No, not a
animated
lot.
cartoons. Yeah.
No, but I still love them. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would put them in here with all of this, but since they came up, it came up. So
They're still
what's
great.
next
I
on your
love them, and those are ones I actually have all of those, and yeah, are they great? No, they're not great. They are literally just stories lifted out of the comics. Like
yeah.
The origin of Captain America is taken directly from the origin of Captain America uh, in the Avengers comic, and they're just great. I mean, for all of their cheapness, they have an endearing quality, and I love them. And I love them.
Sure.
And those hold up. Like I can sit down and have done it. I will sit down and watch them because they're also short. They're not very long, and I'll watch those. And yeah, they're kind of dumb, but I love them.
No, I love them too. Absolutely. So throw another one at me, man. I'm ready to hear what's next on your list.
Well, I mean, a lot of my other ones, they're more of your standard things like cartoons. These are more Saturday morning cartoons. The way you didn't include He-Man and Transformers, I'm not going to include Super Friends because that goes without saying that that was one of my favorite
Well, that's
cartoons.
definitely
Okay.
one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
that goes without saying that that is one of my favorite
Yeah.
cartoons. I watched it. I watched that well into my teens because I loved that cartoon.
I don't
Okay,
think I've
so
ever stopped watching that cartoon. It
yeah,
because
and
I got
right,
I grabbed it on VHS and then DVDs. I
yeah,
mean, I've watched the Super Friends and will continue to watch the Super
yeah.
Friends.
But then there were a lot of other cartoons that came on Saturday mornings that I loved that were perennial. They were kind of evergreen for me, which was, and it had a lot of different names. They would kind of bring it back. It was the same kind of thing, but it was the Looney Tunes cartoons every
Okay.
because sometimes it would be like the Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck hour, then it would be the Looney Tunes hour or whatever. But it was always just that, that I can still hear it. I can't remember the words exactly, but I can hear the tune. That opening thing when they're hit the lights, dun, 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 and you got Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck walking across the stage, and then you get and it ends with on with the show. This is it, and it's like a
Yep.
big production number. I remembered that. I loved, and of course that gave me my love of Looney Tunes. I would say Looney Tunes was a bigger part of my life than any of the Disney cartoons. Like I like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and that kind of stuff, but I didn't see it all the time. I literally grew up with the Looney Tunes cartoons. And Laura and I, we were joking the other night because we saw some videos on YouTube where they were doing where orchestra. They have these events where it's Looney Tunes at the opera or something like that. And one was in the Hollywood Bowl, and it's got a huge orchestra, and on this giant screen they're showing the um the Ride of the Valkyries cartoon, the one that it's got
Yep.
the famous "Killed a Wabbit,"
Yep.
killed that. Okay, well, guess what? We are all our entire generation is familiar with Wagner's Ring of the Nibelung because of that cartoon. Okay. Then the Barber of Seville. Uh, there's another one called is it not Rab not oh yeah, Rhapsody Rabbit, where Bugs Bunny is playing the piano and there's a mouse kind of giving him trouble. It's
Yep.
a great cartoon. Um, I'm like, okay, so these cartoons were more than like they literally. Who would have thought a cartoon's going to introduce kids to opera? But it did. It did. And I just love that. I grew up with that my entire life, and to this day, I'm kind of like you. I've never stopped watching the Looney Tunes. I can be flipping through the channels right now, and if a Bugs Bunny cartoon's on, I'll probably stop and watch it.
Yeah. I don't know what channel you're going by to see that, but I would stop. I just don't
Believe it
ever
or
see that
not,
on
on
TV anymore.
yeah, MeTV.
Okay.
MeTV, they actually still show Saturday morning cartoons where they actually rerun old cartoons on Saturday morning.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so you'll have to check that out.
I
I
will.
don't know what they're showing right now, but I know in the past I've watched, they still show the Looney Tunes, a lot of the Looney Tunes cartoons on Saturday mornings, things like that. I don't think they do any deep dives like into to Super Friends or anything like that. Hong Kong Fooey, that's another one I remember as a kid. I
Yep.
wouldn't say that was a hugely influential one on me, but I do remember it just because it was Hong Kong Fooey was voiced by Scatman Crothers, who I think voiced every other character in cartoons in the 70s. And of course, he was the caretaker in The Shining. So that's always that's a fun fact.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't really think too much about Looney Tunes. And now that you're mentioning, I guess as I'm looking at my list here, I guess the lighter side of cartoons. I didn't really I didn't jot a lot of that down. Although I mean, they're just as huge and I think as vastly important as the other ones that we've mentioned. Um, I just didn't write a lot of the Heathcliffs and Garfields
Hmm.
and Danger Mouse,
Oh well,
Darkwing Duck. I just didn't jot any of those down
yeah, yeah.
because
Well,
I wrote other things down today.
yeah. I mean, there were a lot of. I mean, going to those afternoon cartoons. As I aged out of that in once I got into my teens and back when I was a teenager, it wasn't necessarily the coolest thing to be still into cartoons and comic books, like kind of like it is now. Uh, but so there was a time, especially as I got my driver's license, where I wasn't as involved, and plus I started working then. I had a job, and because I was still in school, well, unfortunately, a lot of the times I was working would have been your Saturday mornings,
Yeah.
things like that. So I didn't keep up, but there were a few even that I kept up with going into my adulthood that really are still, I consider, great cartoons now. And that as I had my own son and everything, I actually think it was a lot of fun that Logan was born right at a time when I think there was kind of a renaissance in afternoon animation because you had Batman the animated series, which I would consider that like a huge impactful cartoon,
Absolutely.
especially leading in. But I don't really count that as part of this discussion because I kind of limit this discussion to my childhood. But if we could definitely go beyond because, like when Logan was a kid, he loved the Gargoyles cartoon,
Oh
which
my
was
God,
a
so
great
good.
cartoon. That
That
was a
is
great
great.
cartoon. And I say he loved it. I might have pushed him in that direction a little bit, but he latched on.
Yeah,
Um, Now, I did have to watch a lot of Power Rangers too, which isn't always the best, but it was okay. It was all
it's
right.
not too bad.
I will
Yeah.
say that first Power Rangers movie was actually good. I actually enjoyed that movie.
I saw the other day on I guess it was a YouTube short where the yellow Power Ranger, somebody had actually bought the suit that she had acted in. And it was like when they closed everything up, they had auctioned off her suit, and one of the fans bought the suit and took it to her at one of the Comic Cons and gave it back to her. And I guess the sad part was like she's like the last thing I remember doing this suit was hugging, and it was the Power Ranger that had passed away recently.
Right, right.
Um,
Well,
and I thought that was pretty interesting.
I think a couple of them are deceased. I know one
Yeah,
recently died recently, unfortunately, tragically. But I think another one of them had passed away in a car wreck like years ago
that sounds
too.
right.
Um, so yeah, unfortunately, we've lost a few. I give Logan a hard time about making me watch Power Rangers, but I gotta say I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, especially he got such a kick out of it. Um, but I again that those were outside the window of my definitely outside the window of my childhood.
Yeah,
Although, as we were talking, you know, if we wanted to revisit animated series that we love, we could do an entire episode on Batman the animated series leading into Superman the animated series and the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and Batman Beyond. That whole Dini verse, Paul Dini was kind of the driving force behind that. Um, is amazing. That's an amazing. That was an amazing era of television cartoons.
yeah. I think DC's whole run of cartoons, even some of their darker things that are like maybe straight to DVD or whatever. I know it's not Saturday morning cartoons, but I don't know of many of those that I've ever put in that I've left and been like, oh, that was kind of garbage. They're all great.
You mean the DC animated movies, the DC
All of
universe?
yeah, the movies.
There are some ones that are terrible.
Are
There are
there?
some
I haven't
yeah,
seen
yeah.
any.
There are some more recent ones like Batman the Killing Joke was just awful because
I didn't see that.
they changed a critical element of the story from the comic that was just pointless. It was there was no need to do it and they did it and it ruined the story. Same thing with Superman Red Sun. Like Red Sun is one of the best Elseworld Superman stories ever told because it has such an amazing twist at the end of the story and they didn't do it. They just
Oh,
didn't
that's
do it.
garbage.
Yeah, and so there are some of those that are just awful. Um, there are some that are amazing, that are great. Like New Frontier, I would argue is one of the best of the DC universe animated movies. Um,
I've
the
loved
Dark
the
Knight,
Constantines. I think those have been a
yeah,
lot of fun.
the Dark Knight Returns was amazing. I like the ones where where they're adapting an actual comic book story into an animated movie, and they stick to it and they stick it,
Yeah,
and like they stick the landing because Dark Knight Returns it's literally like the comic book has come alive on your screen. It's amazing.
that's cool.
Um, New Frontier the same way, but then there are some that they've uh, like I said, there are some where they, for whatever reason, changed the story and ruined the story. Then there are other ones I really looked forward to because one of my favorite Elseworlds comics is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. I did an entire video deep dive into that last Halloween. That's one of my favorite comics of all time, and they they did two things I think were just wrong. They tried to push two stories together because Gotham by Gaslight has a sequel called Master of the Future, where it's the same character, same Gotham, but it has a very different tone because one is a dark detective mystery where Batman's hunting down Jack the Ripper. The other one is more of a Jules Verne adventure story. And those both work in that 19th century Gotham setting. Um, but they tried to put them into the same movie. Parts of them are in the like parts of the stories are in the same movie, and they just don't work. And then they introduced uh, Selena Kyle as a major character. She's in neither one of those stories, and but they got to force Catwoman into it for some reason.
They love forcing Catwoman into everything, it seems
Yeah,
like.
and I guess I got lucky. They didn't. At least they didn't try to force Harley Quinn into it. You know, because DC seems determined that she's going to be part of everything. Um,
That's a pretty recent thing though, isn't it?
that's a recent thing, but I mean, this cartoon is fairly recent. It came out in
Okay.
like 2020, 2021,
Oh
something like
wow, yeah,
that.
I guess you are lucky they didn't throw her in there then.
The other thing that was terrible about it, and this would be my biggest criticism of all the DC animated movies, is when they would adapt a story like The Dark Knight Returns, New Frontier, those are the ones that come to mind. They literally tried to make the art in the animation style look like the art in the comic books. And I love that. But now they seem to have just developed their own house style, which I kind of dub it uh, late Justice League because that's what it looks like. Every time they animate a movie now, it just looks like the animation is just the same style of animation from Justice League Unlimited or
Okay.
Batman Beyond.
Is I
That's kind
mean,
of this.
sometimes
It's
that's a
lost
good
its
thing.
unique character. Yeah, but I mean, if you're adapting a story, I consider the
That
art
I
to be an
understand.
integral part
Yes.
of the story. I mean, comics is a dual medium. It's not just about the story; it's about
Yes.
the art too. And and they seem to have lost that identity that they had earlier on in the things they were doing.
I can
And I'm sure
understand
it's
that.
just because I know what the reason is. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
We can just use the same guys, animate this stuff over and over. It's just cheaper.
Yeah, I
And
was just saying that from the perspective of there's a run of Sherlock Holmes cartoons that were obviously animated by the same people that did Scooby Doo, and it doesn't bother me a bit. It's like,
Oh
yeah,
no, I
okay,
could
I'll
see
take
that.
this.
I mean, I could see that. Well,
But
and of
I get what
course,
you're saying. Like, it
yeah.
definitely should match the comic book art if possible.
If possible. And that was actually the biggest criticism, ironically, of the very first DC animated movie they did, those directed DVD animated movies, which was Superman versus Doomsday. And they're telling this scaled the story, they had scaled the story down to it wasn't Doomsday, it wasn't the death of Superman. So but if you go look at that one, it's literally done in the style of Superman the animated series. And but it's not part, but it would have been different if you're going, this movie takes place in that universe. Like this is the uh but it's not. It looks like that Superman, he has a different voice actor. It was a weird thing, and I think it was their misstep out of the gate, but they immediately fixed it because then the very next cartoon they did, which I don't, it might have been DC New Frontier. I'd have to look at the order of those, but they did seem to right the ship because that first one did get a lot of criticism. People were like, you know, you're why are you, if you're going to adapt the death of Superman, why not stick to that story? And that was an epic scale story. I mean, Doomsday basically left a trail of death and destruction from where he broke out all the way to Metropolis, including he tore his way through the Justice League of that time. Which, and that's not in that movie at all.
Yeah. I haven't seen any that I don't like, but I guess I mean you're saying there's some out there that are kind of garbage. So
That's me. I'm an opinionated guy.
that's all good.
I, I love what I love, and but I'm not a, you know, there are plenty of things that I love that I don't feel like. Yeah, I'll be the first to say this could have been done better.
I
This
got
could
you.
have been done better. Um, and some are just downright bad. Like I'm just going to say it. The Killing Joke, especially that what they did to that story is a travesty. That thing should be wiped out. They should redo it. They need to redo it and do it right this time.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Um,
looking at the clock, and I know that we're actually over our time.
yeah, we are.
I can't believe we didn't get a chance to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
We didn't talk
Um,
about Dungeons and Dragons. We didn't talk about Scooby Doo.
You know what, I had Scooby Doo and the Real Ghostbusters, but I because they have so many episodes, I almost kind of put them in that GI Joe and He Man and Transformers category because they're just I mean, they're classics and they're fantastic, but it's like there's 140 real Ghostbusters episodes, man. Like that's obviously a lot of people love that.
No, you're right, and you're right. I can't believe we didn't bring up Dungeons and Dragons because I absolutely love
I
that
mean, it's on my
cartoon.
list. I just didn't
Yeah,
get to it.
we didn't get to it, but um, I I guess you're right. I mean, Scooby Doo probably does fall into that. That's why, like as I mentioned, I didn't mention Super Friends specifically,
Yeah,
just because we could do an entire episode about Super Friends.
easily on Super
And
Friends.
same thing about Scooby Doo,
I think
especially
so.
yeah, I mean that's and I also put that in my category. It goes without saying. I love Scooby Doo.
I mean, for most people, yeah, I
Yeah.
would hope so.
It just
Um,
goes without saying. Well, I know we need to pack up, and I hope you have a good week. I know school's over. I hope you have a.
yeah,
I know
I hope
there's
it's not
some.
over, but we'll see
Yep.
how that goes.
Well, there are some opportunities. Yeah, there are some opportunities coming up that we're
Yeah,
praying that they're gonna come through for you.
yeah,
But before we leave, I do want to just mention that you know we hope that anyone listening to the podcast, especially if you're listening to it on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and give our video a thumbs up, and because that really does help the channel a lot. And we're we have a lot of things that we are kind of have in the works that we want to talk about and show. We're doing lots of talking, we're doing lots of telling. We want to start doing some showing too. So I know that both working on have some videos that we have either in progress or that we would like to start doing. So it really helps the channel grow if you just give us a thumbs up and definitely subscribe.
That sounds awesome. Well, Mac, I hope you have a great week. Listeners, I hope you have a fantastic week as well. And we will see you on the next show.
Bye bye.